Senator Joe Manchin says we cannot spend our way to a balanced, healthy economy and continue adding to our $30 trillion national debt. Getting inflation under control will require more aggressive action. Joining us now for reaction, National Taxpayers Union EVP, Brandon Arnold. Brandon, always great to see you. Let's start with the inflation numbers overall. In March, 8.5% year over year. That's when you include, and I include, food and energy because this has been so persistent. Those are the two things that American consumers feel the most. Let's look at some of the numbers here. Food inflation, lettuce, 12%, salad dressing, almost 14%, fresh vegetables, almost 6%, meats, almost 14%, uncooked beef and steak, 14%. This is staggering. We're not even talking about eating out. We're talking about just going to the grocery store. Your reaction?
Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely backbreaking for average families right now. And the notion that they're just going to blame corporations and blame Vladimir Putin. Listen, we can beat up on Vladimir Putin all day, and certainly he's made this problem worse. But this problem predated Putin's invasion of Ukraine. This problem has been around since the onset of this administration when they canceled Keystone, when they blocked oil and gas drilling. They drove up gas prices. And then, as McConnell said a moment ago, they pumped $2 trillion into this economy to juice consumer spending at a time when we had supply chain constraints. So you can't just blame this away on other people. This blame belongs squarely with the Democrats and squarely with Joe Biden.
Yeah, I mean, I've been saying that as long as we've been covering this story since Inauguration Day, essentially, that it was the president's spending. He tried to rescue America when America didn't need to be rescued at that time. We should have just opened up our doors and let people get back to business. That would have been the best way to do it. But now we're facing a huge problem here. Look at some of these numbers year over year. Regular gas is up almost 50%. Electricity is up 11%. Used cars, 35%. Hotels, 29%. And the list goes on and on. Yet you've got an administration that wants to, as Hillary Vaughn pointed out, continue to spend money. If you took a look at his President Biden's proposed budget, he says we're going to spend our way out of the deficit. Explain to my viewers why that's not accurate.
Yeah, I mean, he's in a ditch right now, and the only tool he seems to have at his disposal is a shovel. He just wants to make the problem worse and worse. And Build Back Better, for instance, trillions of dollars of deficit spending, trillions and trillions of dollars that'll be foisted on future generations. And of course, juicing up consumer demand even further is going to drive inflation even higher. And on top of that, it has further restrictions on oil and gas leasing. It has a tax on methane. It is absolutely moving in the wrong direction right now. This administration needs to get out of its own way. It just needs to stop doing what it's trying to do. Stop spending money. Stop trying to tax businesses, individuals, and so forth. Get out of the way and allow the economy and the free market to drive this recovery.
So let's take a look at a couple of stats here. Inflation, the top concern among small businesses, right? The backbone of the American economy. 31% saying that as they look to recover from the pandemic and what a tough time they had. And then I'll just remind everybody as well that the consumer facing this inflation across the board represents roughly 2/3 of the U.S. economy as well. And so there's going to be a tipping point. We all know it's coming where people are going to have to pull back. The analysts essentially say that inflation is costing the average American family $3,500 a year. That's substantial.
It's enormous. And right now, that is my biggest concern, the consumer spending. It has been strong throughout this pandemic. It has begun to show signs of tapering. And if we do see action out of this Fed, for instance, it continuing to raise interest rates, and I think that is quite likely, I think everybody agrees that is almost a certainty, then we could cool off the housing market. We could see a reduction in the purchase of automobiles, new and used automobiles. That's already started to take place. Once consumer spending starts to fall, we could find ourselves in a very, very difficult economic position. This economy could take a nosedive. Let's all hope that does not happen. Let's all hope that this economy continues to recover and move in the right direction. But right now, there are some signs for some serious concern.
And economy and stock market, of course, Brandon, are different. I get the distinction, but you look at the stock market and investors are already pricing in these rate hikes to come. And they expect that, businesses will have to cool down a little bit, too. They won't be able to borrow to fund activity as much. You may see layoffs coming in the future as we see costs continue to rise. It's a troubling time, and the answers don't seem to be there with this administration. But we're out of time, Brandon, and I really appreciate you joining us tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.